everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today we're back with theater producer, director, and playwright Robert Cacioppo. Hey, Robert, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Sophia. Glad to be here again.
Glad to have you back. And today I want to discuss a little more about working with playwrights to develop a show as a director. What strategies do you recommend for establishing a collaborative and productive relationship between directors and playwrights?
Uh, well, first of all, I would say candor. I mean, obviously, you want to be respectful, and you would not enter a conversation with a playwright if you didn't like the play or like his previous or her previous play. So I'm you have to be sensitive that this is their play.
Right.
They have the final say. You do not get to, I don't. If I did the original Death of a Salesman, I'm not going to have Willie not kill himself and pay off the house. I mean,
Right.
it's his or her play. But that being said, often a theater producer, director can have a major impact on how a play ends. There are famous stories of Ely Kazan with Tennessee Williams, forcing his way of this is how this play should end, and so on. Uh, I think obviously set designers come into play. Uh, there's famous stories of there was a famous playwright, famous director Josh Logan who did William Inge's plays and Bus Stop and so on. Again, the way the original play wasn't the same till this director, got involved in it. Directors in particular will have, and producers maybe big and maybe bring insight to, and Neil Simon is the one who said it, but I think this is true for all playwrights. Plays are never finished, they're only abandoned. I think I also would say plays aren't written, they're rewritten. I mean, Neil Simon even said it. There was a time he said sometimes you're alone in a room and you have this empty pad and you write something that you think is going to be hilarious, and you get in front of an audience and no one laughs. Then you have a line that you don't think is funny at all. You didn't write it for the purpose of being funny, and it brings the house down and gets an ovation. So,
Right.
so I think this collaboration with a director, with a theater, doing readings, and even getting in front of an audience. A lot of Broadway plays end up, being in previews for 20, 30, 40 performances while they're tweaking. So I think this collaboration is important all the way around, for everyone. And I mean, obviously, it is a business. The older I've gotten, the more I understand why they call it show business. And the business is that playwrights can't function without a producer finding the money to build that set and get people in the door, and we can't without. But I'm like, it's funny with this new play that I talked last time that I'm doing, Flatlanders by Bruce Graham. I definitely want some changes to the script, but ultimately I respect Bruce, and it's his call. I think there can be healthy, clashes, but I would always, for myself, remember it's this person, it's his or her play, and ultimately they have the final say.
Right. Well, that's a good note on just handling the creative differences that arise and knowing what to do when they do arise. And I do want to ask you, Bob, during rehearsals for these shows, how are actors able to put in their input?
Well, you know what? The right actor can make a huge difference. Again, I think by the time you get an actor there, the script is 99.9% finished. There's a man named Ken Ludwig who wrote a lot of famous plays. Probably his most famous play is Lend Me a Tenor, and there are several versions of that, but that was on Broadway, ran a very long time. I produced it at several theaters over the years. And he wrote a play called Moon Over Buffalo, which was going to be famous because Carol Burnett was coming back to Broadway. And it's funny, young people interested in the theater, they did a documentary about Moon over Buffalo, and so they filmed the rehearsal process. And when they were all around the table reading the script for the first time, there was Carol Burnett, big TV star, coming back to Broadway where she hadn't been in 25 years, uh, since Once Upon a Mattress. Philip Bosco, uh, he's a contractor in the Money Pit, where he keeps on saying 2 more weeks. But Philip Bosco was a famous Broadway actor. You would recognize him from dozens of movies, but he was a force to be reckoned with. So he's opposite Carol Burnett, and a Broadway director, I forget his name, who directed the original Grease. So they're filming it, thinking it's all going to be nice and pleasant. And the very first, it's actually interesting because of the drama that took place about does an actor have a right? It's slipping my mind. His first name is Tom. The director starts off, all right, let's read the script. And I just want to say on day one, we're not here to rewrite this script. This script is good. So let's just, do our best. And right off the bat, Philip Bosco says, what? You don't want my 30 years experience? You don't want Carol's experience? You're telling us it's done? And it was like it became this very contentious, tense rehearsal process because Philip Bosco, as an actor, felt insulted that it was a new play and that he, as an actor, wouldn't. But it gets back to what I said, that it is a collaboration where the strongest man wins. And I mean, yes, ultimately the playwright, but Philip Bosco did not want to hear that as an actor. And to be fair, it probably had Carol Burnett and Philip Bosco in Moon Over Buffalo. They were above the title and stars. So I think there is a collaboration, and obviously sometimes an actor is so amazing that they bring out something that the director and the playwright may never have seen. So obviously actors are a big part of it. And in the end, the playwright is going to do the cutting, the editing. Ultimately the playwright, but the playwright may get an idea, or there could be an ad lib that happens. There are many cases that something gets ad libbed in a script in rehearsals, and then that ad lib gets put in the play.
Well, thank you, Robert. That was great insight on the collaboration of a show.
Cool.
That's all the time we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's interview with theater producer, director, and playwright Robert Cacioppo. Be sure to check out our website for more videos. Wishing you all a fulfilling and successful writing journey.